This is the affirmative action ruling from the Supreme Court.
I mean, I think some universities were using these policies to discriminate against Asian students and other kinds of students. So, pick your discrimination. Who do you want to be discriminated against? Wouldn't the fair way to do it would be to say, we're going to look at everybody's test scores, we're going to look at everybody's applications, and we're going to do it agnostic of race, and we're going to let the most talented and the most accomplished students come to our universities. You mentioned the Supreme Court ruling, by the way, on affirmative action, which I do believe was a seminal moment because it reminded me, when it happened, that a vast majority of Americans do not want affirmative action. They do not believe in these forced racial preferences. And even a majority of African Americans agreed with the ruling at the time. And so when some people, often accuse Republicans are on the right, but I think a lot of Americans all across the spectrum look at this and say, I want to rise and fall based on my own talent and my own hard work. I don't want to rise and fall based on the pressures being put on me by people who don't know how much work I'm putting in.
Well, let's talk about fairness, because...
Can you further break down for us the case both for and against this law that could eventually lead to TikTok being banned?
Yeah, I mean, very likely could lead to TikTok being banned because this case is not looking good for them. You can think of this as sort of TikTok arguing First Amendment issues and the federal government on the other side crying national security. So TikTok's argument is basically Americans have the right to access speech on the social media platform of their choosing. If they want to upload videos to a Chinese-controlled app, that's their right as Americans. If they want to look at speech on that app, so be it. But on the other side, there are real national security concerns that animated Congress's very intentional choice to pass this law last April, which is that the owners of this company, which do have ties to the CCP, they have access to the data of 170 million American users, and they have the ability to have editorial control over the content that's uploaded there. So it's going to come down to First Amendment versus national security.
And we should point out, the law states that TikTok wouldn't be banned were it to be sold to a non-Chinese entity. But that still doesn't appear to be on the table, right?
No, that would be a real scramble. There doesn't appear to be a serious deal in the works. I think there's a couple twinkles out there, but nothing serious. And the deadline is January 19th, so 1 month away.
President-elect Trump was asked about this earlier this week. I wanted to play part of what he had to say about it.
We'll take a look at TikTok. I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok has something to do with that.
So he's more concerned, it seems, that it helped him than any potential national security risk, at least in his public comments. How, if at all, might his position factor into the court decision?
Not a lot, to be honest. The justices are going to look at what's in the legal briefs, not what Trump is saying on Truth Social, right? They're going to focus on the legal arguments here, which doesn't mean that President Trump won't have any options. Right now, the Biden administration is defending this law. It's an act of Congress. It's the government's job to defend it. President Trump could tell his Department of Justice, hey, back off, we're not going to defend that, in which case I would expect, the court wants to hear why this is lawful. They would appoint an outside lawyer. So there's a chance, but bottom line, the justices don't really care what President Trump's personal view is.
And if indeed it's a First Amendment versus national security argument, any early sense of how the justices might rule? Yeah. So the biggest key is that the lower court was completely unanimous in rejecting the First Amendment argument. What they see is this is, to the extent this control or this regulates free speech, it's of a foreign company. Foreign companies don't have free speech rights. They're far more likely to say there's a real national security concern. This is what Congress can do. Yeah, it's their job.